This is Pastor Jarvis James. I wanted to talk to my leaders briefly about how to deal with grieving people. As you are leading people, you're going to run and cross people that has lost loved ones, as well as yourself has lost loved ones. And there are some right things to say, and there are some wrong things to say when we're talking to grieving people. Grieving or grief is, the event of losing someone or something. There's 5 stages of grief that everybody goes through. One of those stages is denial and isolation. The second stage is anger. The third stage is bargaining. The fourth stage is depression. And finally, the fifth stage is acceptance. There's many people that don't get to the point of acceptance. But acceptance is a good place to be. So when first loss happens, you go through a sense of denial. You can't even believe that it's real. You can't believe that this has happened. And then you get angry. And it's this anger, this emotion of anger just comes from nowhere. And there's nothing wrong with being angry, because anger is an emotion God gives to us. It's how we manage and control our anger. Then we go through bargaining. That bargaining stage is that we go through a stage of like, I should have done this, or I wish I would have done this. And we just start going back and forth in our mind about some of the things that we could have said and should have said. Because you got to remember, the last time you seen somebody could have very well been the very last time you seen that person. And so that's how life happens sometimes. The Bible says that life is but a vapor, appearing for a little while, then vanishes away. After the bargaining, you go to a sense of depression, where you're just down and out, you're downtrodden. But the good news for believers is that even though you're depressed and downtrodden, that there's hope, because we have hope, and our hope lies in our relationship with Christ. And the Bible says, greater is he that is within me than he that with all the world. If God is in me and God is with me and God is beside me and leading me, I will not stay depressed for long. I may stay depressed, here or there, but I won't be depressed for long. Then that fifth stage is acceptance. So that's the 5 stages of grief. As a leader, you need to know that these are the emotions people are going to go through: denial, anger, bargaining, depression. Finally, get to a healthy place of acceptance. You accept that this is God's will. And so you have this stage, this outline of a stage to arm you of how you can lead somebody through the process of them grieving. So I want to give you a few practical things. What not to say. What not to say. You cannot say that there's at least statements. At least this statement. Well, if somebody lost a loved one, you can't say, well, at least you got other loved ones. Somebody lost a kid, you can't say at least you got other kids. If somebody lost a spouse, well, at least you can get married again. You got to get away from the least statements, because that sounds so wrong. It's not empathetic. It's not sympathetic. You have to get to a point where you connecting with this person that you're leading, and you got to get away from the least statements, as well as get away from the statement that God must have wanted this person in heaven more than he wanted them on earth. Get away from that God got another angel. Well, first of all, that ain't even biblical teaching. An angel is an angel. Humans are humans. But we don't want to minimize a person's grief, but we don't want to add insult to injury either. And the one major thing that I've seen, and I know what people mean and I know what people are feeling, but get away from, I am sorry for your loss. Saying I'm sorry for your loss is really taking responsibility for something that's wrong. You didn't wrong this person. I know what people meaning and I know what people are thinking and feeling, but to say I'm sorry for your loss is like I did you something, and now I'm apologizing for that. So you don't have to take the brunt of apologizing for somebody's loss. Some things that you can say that's encouraging is say, I'm praying for you and your family. That's powerful. I'm praying for you and your family. That's not judgment. That's not saying, I know what you're going through. It's just saying, I'm praying to God for you and your family. You can say, I truly feel for your loss. I truly feel for your loss. Just some kind words. Pick out some kind words to say. And so that's always a recipe to think before we speak. When you think before you speak, you're thoughtful. Your words are thoughtful. Your words are helpful. Your words are inspiring. Your words are needful, and your words are kind. That's an acronym for the word think. 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 If I'm gonna say something when somebody's grieving, it needs to be that thing that I'm saying needs to be true. It needs to be helpful. It needs to be inspiring. It needs to be necessary. And it lastly needs to be kind. So if I'm saying something to somebody, because you got to remember, when somebody lose a loved one, whether they lost them through health or they lost them tragically and someone being murdered, this is the worst event of their life. And you got to think before you speak. So say something that's enjoyable, like reconnect with that person that's grieving about the person that has passed away. Say, something that about their life that you can connect with, and you can say a story about their life if you know that person. And if you don't know that person, you can ask, the one that's grieving, simple things about what kind of food did they like, and where did they like to go a lot, and what did they like to wear, and connect with them on that level. Get them off of the real pain and get them on something that's more pleasurable. But remember, don't ever force anybody to talk about this painful event. That was what was wrong with Job's friends. When Job, in the book of Job in the Old Testament, when he lost loved ones, he lost his children, he lost land, he lost property, and he was even losing health, his friends came along, it was good, and they just stayed with him for some days. But when they started talking, they just about condemned Job, that it was Job's fault. So sometimes just being present, what to say and what to do is just being present. What you can do is just put your hand on the shoulder, give them a quick hug. But you don't want to add insult to injury by trying to force somebody to speak or trying to force them to get over their grief. Remember, they're the one grieving. You're the one that's taking the posture of just support. Just a couple of scriptures to be able to arm yourself to be able to help people that are grieving. Isaiah 55:8. Also, Psalms 34:18, Psalms 30:5, Romans 8:28, Matthew 5:4, though in Revelation 21:4, John 11:25 and 26. You can go back and read those scriptures. Those are scriptures that can help encourage you, encourage other people that's grieving. So I wanted you to take this small little PowerPoint, arm yourself with some information that can be quickly, readily available to you when you're dealing with people that are grieving.